Hello, hello, and welcome to Cryptic Corner. It is Friday night here in Live from the Hive with me and my Live from the Hive audience. We are celebrating, not really celebrating, it was yesterday. Well, yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, which I always grown up thinking, yes, it's the Mexican Independence Day. It's the Mexican version of 4th of July because it's the same naming convention and all that. But I was corrected by Wes, producer Wes, when I was talking to him about it. It's like, no, it's about the battle, the big battle with the French that was the turning point in the war for I think it was some portions of the land that would become Mexico and parts of it that would become the U.S. at a later date. But that's what it's celebrating. That is what Cinco de Mayo is all about. And my little tiny Mike Mantis is right here. Too small. I thought he was going to be better, but it's all right, though. I mean, I'm not mad that he's too small. I'm just me. Today is also Cinco de Mayo. Okay, yeah, well, whichever the case is, I scoured the annals of the internet for some details about some Mexican mystery monsters, aliens, or what have you, and I did find a trend that I do want to hop on because I think that we'll all enjoy it, and it's a thing that I hadn't heard of before, which is always fun. So let me take you guys over to check the site out first, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So some countries have a lot of cryptids. Mexico is one of them, actually. So this is a website called MexicoUnexplained.com. They do podcasts, got videos, books, t-shirts, and merch, and all that good stuff. So they do like mysterious things about Mexico. And you can come down here and you can look, see what kind of topics that they have on hand. You got like, Sacred Dog is one of them. They got Day of the Martian festival. And the Black Demon, that's the big shark in the Sea of Cortez. The Onza, which is going to be on our North American Mystery Cat list. The North American Mystery Cat that's going to be minus the Appalachian Black Panthers that I've already covered it ad nauseum, but I may revisit that or even watch portions of that video if we do that. But this is specifically all of these different myths and monsters are from some region of Mexico. That's the claim. And then we got a Mexican monster coloring book. I want to see what that's all about. Do you all want to see what the Mexican monster coloring book looks like? Is there some samples here? Oh, it's going to give us an advertisement first. That's why I hate embedded, because it doesn't recognize my my status. And that's just cause of the Mexican Civil War. But here's the coloring book. You got Huey Chavez. We got the Man Bat, right? We have, I'm not going to try to pronounce this name, but it's some kind of bird-footed witch thing. It's a mermaid, I'm also going to try to pronounce, but yeah, you kind of get the idea what's included in the pages, right, of this Mexican monster coloring book. So that is something that we are going to be exploring. The monster that we're talking about first is actually on here. It's right here. It is the Man Bat. So yeah, I'm ready to dive in. Are you? Let's go. So it starts off with a robot voice, which was kind of surprised. I was like, oh man, because you all know how I feel about robot voices. So give us some intro pictures and stuff, but let me see if I can jump ahead.
Based partly on theory and conjecture.
Okay, there we go.
Where we will explore the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. This series presents information based partly on theory and conjecture. The podcaster's purpose is to suggest some possible explanation, but not necessarily the only ones to the subjects we will examine. Here is your host, Robert Bitto.
Welcome, and muy bienvenidos to episode number 51 of Mexico Unexplained, where we examine the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. I'm your host, Robert Bitto. It was a chilly morning, a few hours after midnight, on Friday, January 16,
crank the volume
2004. Up. The young 20-something police officer, Leonardo Samaniego Gallegos, was patrolling the neighborhood of Valles de la Silla in the municipality of Guadalupe, an eastern suburb of Monterrey. Officer Samaniego was driving his patrol car down Aldama Street when he saw something big and black fall from a tree. The big black figure did not touch the ground, but seemed to hover over it. So
this one has definitely some supernatural elements to it, right? That's what it sounded like to me so far. It's hovering. It's not flying. It doesn't mention flapping its wings or anything.
Samaniego turned on the patrol car's high beams, and before him in the short distance stood a humanoid with big black eyes, brownish skin, and what appeared to be black clothing or fur. According to the officer's report, upon having the car's lights shined upon it, the creature covered its eyes and became angry, and then lunged at the car. It grabbed the patrol car and shook it violently. In a panic, Samaniego spun the car in circles to try to shake off whatever had gotten a hold of his car.
All right, so something, we don't have much description yet, right? Something big and black was in a tree, fell out of the tree but didn't hit the ground. It hovered, so he turned his lights on to see what it was, and then it attacked. It covered its eyes like it was angry, and then it attacked.
He grabbed the police radio and desperately called for reinforcements. The creature then started to smash his windshield, at which point the young policeman shifted the car into reverse, gunned the engine, lost control of the vehicle, crashed it, and was knocked unconscious. When he came to, revived by paramedics, the creature had been long gone. Samaniego was rushed to University Hospital, and in addition to being treated for his physical wounds, he was subjected to psychological and toxicological tests to determine whether he was under the influence when he had his supposed encounter. All the tests came up negative. The police department was left with a mangled car and the strange testimony of a very trusted officer. Samaniego's story spread quickly, and it caught the attention of local news stations throughout the Mexican state of Nuevo León. In an on-camera interview the next day, the police officer recounted that horrible night and gave a detailed description of the creature. Newsmen wondered exactly what Samaniego had seen. Was it a gigantic bird of prey? A huge bat? Was it some unknown or unclassified animal? Was it a ghost? Something otherworldly? One interviewer even put forth the idea that it could have been some crazy person dressed up in a costume, although that would not account for the creature seeming to hover over the ground, or the severe damage done to the police car.
See, but they keep calling it creature at this point. It hasn't, nothing in the description so far indicates it's a creature. Nothing implies that it's not a person. Right? I think I scared my mic mantis. Now it's on the run. Come here, little fella.
At the conclusion of one of the news stories, the announcer asked the public to come forward if they had any information about that specific incident, or if anyone had any knowledge of a big, black, flying creature seen at other times in the region. The response to this plea was quick. A resident of Monterrey and a member of the OVNI Club de Nuevo León, or in English, the UFO Club of Nuevo León, came forward with a video showing a strange black humanoid-looking being flying over the hills just outside the city. The station played the video on the air, and afterwards many reports came in about what would later be called La Bruja.
So they call these man bats, but right now, what they're describing sounds like, the typical Mexican bruja encounter. I think that's what he's about to say here. Let me pack it back a little bit. There we go.
Showing a strange black humanoid-looking being flying over the hills just outside the city. The station played the video on the air, and afterwards many reports came in about what would later be called La Bruja de Guadalupe, or the Witch of Guadalupe. Yeah. 3 policemen from the municipality of Santa Catarina, another suburb of Monterrey, claimed to have seen the creature several times flying over the Sierra Las Mitras, a site of a natural wilderness preserve just north of town, which is known for its jagged peaks. Another police...
Yeah, and I did, you all know me. You, the folks here who do know me, I know that sometimes new people pop in and we love ya, but I do always like to I like to look at the areas that we're talking about, right? I like to explore the Monterey region. This is the peak this is the ridge they're talking about here. You can't really get onto it, but I like to walk around, but you can go down and look off of some of the peaks here. There's some points of where you can view what the city looks like from up here. It's pretty cool. Check this out. It's a nice view. Oh, never mind. This one's stupid foggy. We're gonna go. Yeah, you can't. Not that one. That's not what I was talking about. Yeah. What we need. Where's the good one? I had a really good one the other night. So give me just a second. I want to figure out. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Right here. Nope, more clouds. That's kind of cool though. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that city down below there. Look at that. That's gorgeous. There, you're up above the clouds. So you're up here with the man bat. Beautiful landscape, right? Hello. Hello, person who's standing in the clouds. Wish I could see him rolling. I bet the clouds are just rolling over that mountaintop. Anyway, so that is, this is the area that we're looking at. A second sighting was here in this region. First sighting was, where is it? Santa Rosa, where are you? Yes, over here somewhere in this region. I don't know why. I think he said it was Santa Rosa. Maybe Santa Rosa. Yeah, Santa Catarina is where the hot spot or whatever is. Yeah. All right, back to the video.
Policeman named Gerardo Garza Carvajal of the same town of Santa Catarina claimed to have seen a creature standing 1.5 meters tall with dark feathers of fur and black claws in the town cemetery. He thought it was a gigantic bird or bat, but it had the face of a human. In this sighting, Officer Garza said that soon after the creature appeared, it was joined by another one of the same size and type. Garza ran to a guardhouse and locked himself there until...
See, I maybe this is me, but it sounds like they're describing like an encounter with 2 big birds of prey.
Till the creatures left. The theory that these are gigantic birds is supported by the eyewitness testimony of Francisco Peña, who lives near the Santa Catarina cemetery. He claims that when the creatures make noise, they sound like, quote, laughing turkeys, unquote. Of all the stories coming out as a result of the newscasts, perhaps the most interesting came from a man named Manuel Cifuentes, who is also a policeman for the municipality of Guadalupe and a colleague of Samaniego.
Which leaves us to wonder what's going on with the cops in this area of Mexico, around Monterrey. What's the dealio?
He describes a sighting that occurred almost 2 weeks before Samaniego's. According to Officer Cifuentes, he was leaving the police station on foot when suddenly a black creature with a large stick swooped down out of the sky.
It had a
He
weapon.
instinctively closed his eyes, and according to his report, quote, I felt much cold, as if I had gotten into a freezer full of ice, end quote. The creature did not do physical harm to him,
Hey, Mark Reed.
but he had felt that the creature's energy had pierced his.
So yeah, and this is a problematic thing that, you know, when you're dealing with police, that you need to be alert out on the field if they're hallucinating or blaming things on like magic and stuff like that. That might be a problematic for your whole municipality as an officer, right? Just my opinion. Just what I have come to understand about the whole thing. But yeah, all right, let's go.
His body. It all happened so suddenly, but Cifuentes claimed that he was attacked by a classic witch, and that the stick that the creature had was more like a broom that it used to fly around with. He had the distinct impression that the bruja was a humanoid woman. No other sighting.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a bat here.
In early 2004 had described the creature in quite this way.
Yeah, so
in the wake of the flurry of news stories of Officer Samaniego's initial sighting,
that's what I'm talking about.
Guadalupe's mayor, Juan Francisco Rivera, in an attempt to calmly address the public on the issue, declared that Officer Samaniego was a good public servant and he had good character, but sometimes the stress of being a police officer or excess work might get to some people.
Yeah.
The mayor believed...
There you go. Was it Kirk Langstrom or Michael Morbius? It depends on which timeline we're in and which universe we've dipped our toes into. And if we're in the Algamaverse, I think it's both of them. I think it's... Is it Lang Morbistrom or something like that? The Algamaverse version of Man-Bat?
The young policeman thought he saw something... But, quote, sometimes life puts us in weird situations that we cannot explain, end quote. However, the politician had no comment on the many dozens of other sightings throughout the area made by other police officers and...
So this channel tries to like keep their opinion neutral, but they're often like deride the skeptical approach. So I was like, yeah, they say that it could have been this, but you know what? It doesn't make any sense. So they stay neutral to an extent, but not really. Not really, though. Alike. Yeah.
The sightings of this huge black flying humanoid in the Monterrey area petered out within 2 years or so of the initial report. In another part of northern Mexico, in the rural parts of the neighboring state of Chihuahua, a similar creature has been sighted. As the largest state in Mexico...
Now, Chihuahua, let me go back to educate you. So far we've been in Nueva Leon, which is here. Chihuahua, though, is a bigger area. So it's the border. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but it runs right along here. So they are neighboring provinces. However, Nueva Leon's big too, and Monterrey is on the far side of it. And Chihuahua, he hasn't said the city yet, so let's wait and see what he says there.
Chihuahua, along with its namesake desert, boasts huge forests,
Chihuahua Desert,
deep canyons, rugged mountains, and sweeping prairies. Many parts of the state are still wild and somewhat inaccessible, and would make perfect habitat for an unknown creature or creatures. We see reports of the tall, dark, flying human...
We actually saw this one before when we did the witch talk videos, when we were talking about witches on TikTok, and this one came up. So go back and definitely watch that one. It was a
humanoid creature occur again in the year 2009 in a few small towns throughout Chihuahua. Just west of the capital of the state, Chihuahua City, near the Sierras, in the town of La Junta, a young man was returning home from his studies along a very infrequently traveled road. The date was March 6th, 2009. He came across something hunched over in the middle of the road. When the man's Jeep got closer to the hunched over figure, it stood up and what he saw was similar to the sightings in Nuevo León just a few years before. It was a being standing upright, black, covered in fur, with a face similar to a human's, and with wings. According to this eyewitness, the creature had 2 sets of wings and also red eyes. When it started to leap toward the Jeep, the young man sped up his vehicle, and for 15 minutes the creature flew next to him, looking into the passenger window. The story made the newspaper El Heraldo de Chihuahua, and much like what happened in the neighboring state a few years
I know what that means. It means the whole Chihuahua Herald.
before, once the story hit the mainstream media, other people started coming forward with stories of other sightings. 2 women,
man-bat
Angela
sightings
Mendez,
Man, see, there's like the mix of sightings and reports you got to keep in mind here. There's the man-bat sightings, and there's like a typical bruja sighting, which is just like a flying top half of a woman, or maybe she has bird legs and things like that. That can be really weird looking, but long hair and things like that. There's a lot of typical witch characteristics.
and Bibiana Ledesma, both from a town south of La Junta called
Bat Boy cannot still be a boy, Godseed. That's not, no way. That Weekly World News was from like the 90s.
Miñaca, claimed to have seen and heard the creature in an apple grove near the town cemetery. This is only the second time that it was reported that the creature actually made noise. In most of the sightings, it is silent. Although this gigantic man-bat might scare people, physical attacks on humans are almost non-existent. Animals are another story. Many ranchers and other rural people have blamed the creature for destruction of livestock. Mm-hmm. The phenomenon of cattle mutilation, which has occurred with some frequency in the American Southwest.
Tsunami's my in-house bruja, so she doesn't have bird legs. She's got some pretty toned legs, but yeah, sometimes she can have bird legs if she's flying.
Has also occurred in northern Mexico, and once the stories of the man-bat became public, many people put the blame of mutilated livestock on this mysterious flying creature.
Well, if it wasn't an apple orchard, it could have been a fruit bat, maybe, because the climate of this area of Mexico is a little dry, but it's definitely warm enough that an escaped flying fox or fruit bat of some type could have definitely taken up refuge there, at least for a little while. And being an apple orchard sounds par for course. However, cattle mutilations and things like of that nature, that's a completely different story. Cattle mutilation would not in any way be from a fruit bat, but maybe the onza was there, and that was what was mutilating the cattle.
A farmhand working a ranch near Huerta del Rosario claimed that he saw the creature struggling when caught up in some netting used to shield young plants from hail. Within days of this report, at nearby ranches, sheep had been found with their throats slit and their tails cut. Later in 2009, government authorities...
That's a weird thing to do. Why is it cutting their tails, I wonder? Is it making like a necklace out of them?
Authorities became involved to try to assuage the panic of the people in rural Chihuahua and to try to come up with some answers once and for all. The police department of the town of Guerrero joined forces with the Civil Defense Department of Chihuahua to try to track down the creature. The Joint Task Force concluded that if this man-bat were real, that it probably lived in the mountain wilderness outside of Miñaca, but could never track down the elusive nocturnal creature or find any physical evidence of its existence.
Yeah, so far I'm leaning quite heavily into this being a misidentified bird of prey. I'm leaning pretty hard into that. And then for some of the sightings, it could be like a fruit bat. It could be any number of escaped exotics that fly, of course, because that's a different ball game than trying to identify it out of the local fauna, which is generally what I try to do with these types of sightings, is to quantify them with local fauna and find out if there's any local wildlife that could fit the bill, but loose exotic regulations and a lot of warm tropical, or at least in Chihuahua it's a desert, but definitely warm area. Thank you, Mark Reed, for the super chat, by the way. Where'd that go? Let me pull that back up here. It says Hive, bzz, like for the Hive. Thank you so much, Mark. Much love. Yeah, so where was I? I distracted myself with my side chat again. I just saw that popped up and didn't want to miss that. So there's a lot of places in Central and South America. Both regions have a terrible problem with invasive introduction, just because people can easily access the creatures, and they generally take hold very well in these types of warm environments, warm, wet environments. So yeah, that's where I'm leaning right now.
Not a single track or a single tuft of fur was ever found. After this formal investigation, the sightings seemed to fall off, and there hasn't been a sighting in northern Mexico of these creatures for years.
Oh.
The northern Mexico man bat got the attention of Loren Coleman, an American cryptozoologist. Someone
who we see a lot on this channel, so get used to Loren Coleman. He's pretty level-headed when it comes to cryptozoology, though. Being a cryptozoologist doesn't mean you buy every bit of woo that you hear. It just means you're interested in exploring them. I'm a cryptozoologist, so yeah.
One who seeks to identify and describe cryptids, or legendary creatures and unknown animals. He noted that the appearance of this being in rural Chihuahua coincided with outbreaks of the H1N1 swine flu in this region, but a direct cause and effect relationship did not necessarily exist. Coleman and other cryptid and paranormal researchers have compared the northern Mexican man-bat appearances to the American Mothman sightings, which occurred starting in...
There are some similarities, but this most of the sightings here sound more like typical Bruja sightings than...
In the mid-1960s in rural West Virginia. The Mothman was described as an upright, standing, flying humanoid with a large wingspan and red eyes, sometimes seen as being covered in either black or brown fur. Like the man-bat of northern Mexico.
I don't know. The Mothman sightings that I'm familiar with, I don't know if I don't recall anything about fur, but I could be wrong.
A few eyewitness accounts of the Mothman caused widespread panic and possible copycat sightings. Both were also subjects of serious investigation.
You get like a mass hysteria vibe going.
By authorities that came up empty. Could these creatures
Northern
be related?
Mexican Joker.
Or are we seeing a similar psychological phenomenon apparent in...
Has anybody seen the northern Mexican or Mexico Joker? There probably is a northern Mexico Bane too, right?
Both cases. Until one of these creatures is actually captured for further examination, the man-bat of northern Mexico will just remain an interesting, unsolved mystery and the stuff of legends and the imagination. Thank you once again.
So that was the man-bat. The man-bat of northern Mexico, unexplained. A winged dark humanoid creature has been spotted in northern Mexico. What is it? What do we think? I'm going to do a poll on this one, and we're going to see what you guys think now that we've heard all the evidence. Northern Mexico Batman. And we're going to go with, let's see. And this is always this. There we go. Because we got another video to watch on this channel because we're doing a double feature of this kind of. This one's very much related. You'll see what I mean. This is Mexico's Birdman creature. Let's zip past all these. interest
Mexico.
of.
This series presents information based partly on theory and conjecture. The podcaster's purpose is to suggest some possible explanation, but not necessarily the only ones to the subjects we will examine. Here is your host, Robert Bitto.
Welcome, and muy bienvenidos to episode number 311 of Mexico Unexplained, where we examine the magic, the mysteries,
Got
and
this
the
one a
miracles
little
of
bit
Mexico.
faster for us,
I'm
too.
your host, Robert Bitto. In December of 2020, 4 school teachers were driving on a road outside of La Rumorosa, a town of about 2,000 people located between the cities of Mexicali and Tecate in the northern part of the Mexican state of Baja California. The town is situated in one of the harshest deserts in the world, and outside La Rumorosa, the
Oh,
landscape
shoot. Yeah, I
is
didn't mean
bleak.
to put alien
On this
twice.
drive, the 4 teachers witnessed a gigantic bird-like creature fly in front of and around their car. They stopped the car and watched it soar off in the distance.
didn't mean to
They
put
described the
alien
creature
twice,
as being as
sorry.
tall as a man, with large wings and covered in
Twice as
feathers.
likely,
It
Mark
also
Reed
had
says.
gigantic claws and what they called a chato face, meaning a face with flat features, like a human's and not like a bird's.
A
This being
chato
also
face.
had lighter colored feathers around the neck area like a collar. The teachers told people
It definitely sounds like they're talking about a vulture, and this is too fast for me. It might be able to adjust my brain to it, but I'm going to drop it down to 1.25 just for now. It sounds like, with the collar of feathers and everything, sounds like a vulture. But
happened when they returned to La Rumorosa. Word made it to a local Mexicali television station, which interviewed them about their strange encounter. This broadcast caused other experiencers to come
ooh,
forward.
that's cool. I like that owl-faced Mothman. This one,
Cast
not
caused
this one.
other-
This one right here. I like that art. I wonder who did this. Very cool.
Experiencers to come forward. In the spring of the same year, 2020, a local man was driving on a rural road to the east of Mexicali, just west of the town of San Luis Rio Colorado, and had a close call with a similar creature. The man clipped it with his truck and wondered what had just happened. He stopped his vehicle, and the creature landed in
doing
front
the
of him,
same slides,
standing
though.
upright with its wings bent, as if
There we go. Something flying. And, all these pictures are so blurry that you can't really get a good dimensions. And then at the distance, I can't see anything about this that says it can't be a
it were a
bird.
human with its hands on its hips. After staring at the driver of the truck for a few moments, the gigantic bird-like being unfurled its wings, beat them to the ground a few times, and lifted itself off the ground a few feet,
That was a
hovering
jet.
for a few more seconds before taking off. The poor rural truck driver told his family and friends about what happened, and they didn't take him seriously, claiming that he drove his
hello.
vehicle into a gigantic duck. The
Hombre Polero.
television interview with the teachers a few months after his event seemed to validate what he saw, however. On the July 3rd, 2021 episode of the internet-based Mexican paranormal show called Insolita Experiencia, or Unusual Experience in English,
See, that's like we have to go through a third party because I've been to their channel and it's all in Spanish. So we need someone like this to correlate it with us, right? Someone to someone to translate it and tell us what they're saying.
host Joanan Diaz Vargas devoted an entire 2.5-hour show to what is being called El Hombre Pájaro, or the Birdman. From his Mexico City studio, Diaz interviewed a man named Estalin Valle Osuna, a paranormal researcher based out of Mexicali, in the area of the aforementioned sightings. After the publicity surrounding the teacher interviews, Valle assembled a small group of researchers to track down the creature
I'm still totally convinced it's maybe it's a California condor.
in the deserts surrounding Mexicali and La Rumorosa. Much of the terrain is rocky and inaccessible. Unimproved dirt roads lead to small ranchos, where families eke out a meager existence in the harsh environment. The team went off these roads and further into the desert backcountry on advice from locals. Joana Diaz chuckled when Estalin
Yeah,
Valle
he's,
mentioned that he personally was too fat and too
Well, I do
old.
that too with some of my slides and stuff. Hit up DeviantArt, but it's important to alter any kind of art that you're going to use, or cite the original artist, and or if you alter it. But you can't just throw up their art as without any citations. But I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Old to hike through some of the rougher terrain, but the younger and fitter members of his little team did climb the rocky hills and found what they were looking for. The men saw the same thing seen by the rural man driving the truck and the 4 teachers, a gigantic bird-like creature that appeared to be part human with an obvious intelligence. It stood a little under 6 feet tall like a man and was covered in feathers except for the face. They spotted it sitting among the boulders and photographed it. Valle presented the blurry photo on the Insolita Experiencia show, but the casual observer might have a hard time seeing any supposed creature on the hill in the picture. The strange being seemed to blend into the landscape. Did Valle offer an explanation? His answers to the Mexico City interviewer were lengthy and very broad. Valle has lived in the area all his life and has heard rumors of a gigantic birdman for many years. He explained that the Yuma Indians have a creature in their myths and legends, like what has been cited recently in Baja California.
So this is definitely a vulture right here, or condor. I think it looks like a condor. See, it could be a black vulture, but it's awful big. See, there's the head up here, neck. You can kind of see the collar there, but then we got some featherage in. It's looking to the right, but its body is facing towards the left, so its head's turned weird on this one.
The Yuma or Quetzalcoatl people.
This is the picture he's talking about with the human-faced bird, but it's so blurry you can't really see anything. I believe it's supposed to be somewhere in this area right here, but you know, it is what it is.
Whose ancestral
standard cryptic pictures, right?
Homeland included the lands around Mexicali and to the east and north.
I like this one though. Oh, not that one. That looks like a jet. That's like a jet that is moving fast enough that a jet flying towards the left, moving fast enough that the camera didn't catch the full body of the vehicle as it passed by.
Antic birdman, the Cargunclo or Cargunco. Valle said that he could not get any more information from indigenous people on this creature because they didn't want to talk about it. A basic internet search of these names turns up absolutely nothing. Is this hombre pájaro a cryptid, a real but yet unidentified animal, or is it something else? As a paranormal investigator, Estalim Valle Osuna went off into the more esoteric in his interview with Joanan Diaz Vargas. He said that some people in the northern part of Baja who know of this creature believe that it is the creation of black magic. Others believe that it is interdimensional or extraterrestrial. The existence of many faults and rifts in the tectonic plates in the area, in addition to high amounts of radon gas present, may aid the creature in its travels in between.
It's funny they say this reminds them of the Mothman sightings, but this reminds me almost beat for beat of the Van Eyck monster from Iowa, here in Iowa, in the U.S. I think it's a Van Eyck. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up just a second because I can't remember the Van Meter. Yeah, the Van Meter monster is what it was. We'll have to do a video, and that's just not too far from here either. It's a place that I could probably drive through to, if I needed to.
Dimensions or physical locations. This explains why there has never been a body recovered or any other physical evidence of this bird man ever found. It slips in and out of our world with ease.
But that was what they did too. They said it was like coming out of a mine and stuff. We'll talk about it sometime. No worries. We'll get to the Van Meter monster someday.
Unlike the chupacabra, Valle explained, the hombre pájaro does not attack livestock or people. He believes that it feeds off the energy emanating from the rocks in the surrounding desert. As an energy being, this could explain why
I feed off of rocks? Is that what the monster's like? Yeah. Eating rocks in the desert.
Some sightings say that the creature's eyes, or even its chest, emit light. Valle added that outside the cities and towns of northern Baja...
And now that sounds kind of like the ropin, which is another flying creature that's sighted in the Philippines, I want to say. It might be Indonesia. Somewhere in the Pacific coast of Asia. Somewhere along one of the islands or peninsular countries there. And also not like Vietnam or anything. I want to say... Anyway, it glows. It's a glowing pterosaur is the way that creationists try to spin it.
There are places that are inaccessible to humans and have not even been explored in modern times. A gigantic bird-like creature could easily have a large habitat if it were a real but yet unidentified animal or cryptid.
And remember last week when I talked about the Tong Child, the birds of prey leave, despite not leaving prints and tracks and everything, they do leave caches of of waste from their nest, right? That we can say there was an eagle. An eagle was living here at one point in time.
He explained that the largest bird in Mexico is the harpy eagle, but its habitat is the forested mountains of the states of Chiapas, Oaxaca, and Veracruz, almost 2,000 miles away from northern Baja.
Yeah, way farther south.
In this interview, host Joana Diaz Vargas added that many years ago in Mexico.
But harpy eagles are huge, and it's not out of the question for them to travel great distances.
City, there were sightings of a very similar creature. The modern and somewhat upscale Santa Fe area of the city was once the...
But this is now this Birdman guy here is our thing is on the west coast, on the Pacific coast of Mexico, and you heard reference to Baja and areas like that. So we're getting into closer to the range of a California condor than you are to a harpy eagle, though.
Site of some of the largest tiraderos, or dumps, in the whole Distrito Federal. A few decades ago, a creature was spotted in the landfills, rummaging around in the trash, and it was witnessed by hundreds of people across many months. For a few weeks, the same gigantic flying humanoid was also spotted in the Iztapalapa neighborhood of Mexico City. Diaz emphasized that it was only one creature and not a family or group of creatures. Mexico Unexplained has explored 3 other similar large flying humanoid creatures spotted in Mexico in previous shows. The most popular of the 3 is episode number 22 from June of 2016 about La Lechuza. The Lechuza is a gigantic owl creature that some believe is a shape-shifting witch. The only things in common with the hombre pájaro or birdman is that the Lechuza is man-size, is covered in feathers, and emits cries like a baby. The other 2 shows have to do with Mexican sightings of what has been called the Mothman and another creature called the Man-Bat, which are both large winged humanoid creatures.
We just talked about
For
that
reference,
one.
the Man-Bat show is Mexico Unexplained episode number 51, and the show on Mothman sightings is episode 153.
Yeah, they got episodes out there. So if you're interested in hearing their spin on those, on the Mexican Mothman, that's there too. But we just watched the Man-Bat.
The earliest recorded reference to the hombre pájaro is from 1908. A story from an old newspaper tells the tale of a man walking his dog near Santa Catarina in the Mexican state of Nuevo León, just west of the city of Monterrey. Suddenly, the dog began to stir and sniff around. Along the way, the man found a footprint, like that of a human, but with claws. It was at that moment that his dog began to bark at the bushes, so the man decided to throw a stone and discover what was hidden. He could hear the flapping of wings and see a dark figure fly from the spot. The creature fit the description of the gigantic birdman described in the 2020s in northern Baja. On the Insolita Experiencia show, which aired on December 14, 2021, host Joana Diaz Vargas interviewed an hombre pájaro experiencer who lives in Torreón, in the Mexican state of Coahuila. The man's name was Sinue Valenzuela, and his sightings of the creature took place outside the small town of San Lorenzo, located about 20 miles northeast of Torreón. Valenzuela's description of the birdman was familiar. It was a little under 6 feet tall and covered in gray feathers. It had no beak, but a human face. It had a collar of feathers like a vulture. When he came face to face with it, Valenzuela
keep those descriptions in mind. It had no beak, but a human face and a collar of feathers. I want you to keep these descriptions in mind. Keep that in your head, okay?
Having what he called a serious intelligence. When this being took to the air from its standing position, the flapping of its wings was silent. Valenzuela added that when he told his 87-year-old grandfather about what he saw, his grandfather said that he had known people who had seen the hombre pájaro from as far back as the 1940s, and that he wasn't surprised that the creature was still around. When Joana Diaz Vargas asked Valenzuela what that gigantic winged humanoid could have been, he was quick to say that it could be a yet unidentified species of large bird. He further stated that Coahuila is probably the state with the most wilderness in Mexico, and there are still vast regions that have not been explored, including many inaccessible canyons, mountainous areas, and large caverns. From the comfort of his studios in Mexico City, Diaz probably thought this idea unimaginable, but there are extensive areas of Coahuila that remain very wild and could serve as possible habitats for unknown creatures of various kinds. Diaz emphasized that the hombre pájaro has been sighted in many states throughout Mexico, from Baja California to Michoacán to Veracruz, and not just in the remote wilderness areas of the north. We are left wondering what this creature is, where did it come from, or if it is even real.
Are we, though?
More sightings and more investigations.
I don't know. I'm not as convinced as you seem to be. So, this is a California condor. I want you to look at this picture here. California condors have this weird bulgy region under their chin, under their beak, that looks like a human chin, right? When they rest back, it looks like a human chin with a human-like nose instead of a beak, with a human-like nose, because there's no bottom to the beak, right? Just a hooked nose. Little patches of feathers on the top middle of the forehead look very similar to human hair or eyebrows. And of course they have the trademark collar of feathers here, which stick out like this. When you look at this, especially if you don't get a good look at this, these animals can very much look like a human person, and they have the biggest wingspan of any bird in the Western world. And they do this thing where they stand with their wings out like this. It's thermal regulation, so it's controlling their body temperature, aiding to control their body temperature, and it looks pretty cool. And when you look at their weird little bald head with their human chins and their wrinkly skin and their hooked noses, it's very easy to see how somebody could mistake this animal for a alien or birdman, something along those lines. It's not out of the question. So I think at this point it's very likely that this could be the case. But what about the range? Let's see. So here's the range of the condor. They've been recovering their range for quite a while here. Sorry, I know that I got this on the wrong side for sharing this like this, but there is condors. This is Baja distribution population right here. So not only are there condors in Baja, it's one of the well-known populations, right? There's an experimental population there. This population, I believe, that is active here, migrated there itself. I'm not sure though. I think that I remember reading that. What do you guys think about the Batman and Birdman and all these Mexican flying monsters? Are they the same phenomena? Is it a different phenomena with a similar outlook? Is it a bird? Is it a bat? Is it a plane? No, I know it's not a plane, but you let me know in the comments down below, okay? You let me know what you think right down there. You say, hey, this was a bat. Hey, this was a bird. That was a condor. I think you're right, Bree. Let's do it that way, okay? So thank you everybody who joined me for Cryptic Corner tonight, and we appreciate you stopping in, and hit the thumbs up and or the thumbs down. I don't care. Engage. Let me know what you thought. If you liked the video, if you didn't like the video, bring it on. I want to know. But until next time, be kind, take care, and all that good stuff. And we'll see you there.